Welcome back. Royce and I are out on a hike this morning, just ahead of some really nasty thunderstorms that are going to be in the area all day long. So we're out on a hike and I found this beautiful little trail, and actually I scouted this out last, let's say fall or something like that. Lots of berries in here, so let's go in there and just see what we can get for today's harvest. You have to be super careful. There's wild parsnip all along here. It's going to seed right now, and you know, it's a pretty dangerous plant. Basically, it can, you know, if you rush up against it and break the stems and you get the secretions on you, it can definitely cause blistering and some pretty nasty problems if you get exposure to the sun with it. So we'll be really careful on this trail. Lots of beautiful asters out right now. Here is the New England Aster. The New England Aster is a favorite of bees. We also have the Calico Aster out here as well. And we also have a sort of a small common blue aster that are out. It's so beautiful. I think you saw those on my Instagram and my Facebook. First stop on the berry trail today. Lots of raspberries, although I don't see any on the shrub right now. It's a little bit late for raspberries, so a lot of them have fallen off or dried up. You're really lucky if you can find some around here these days. But there's a wild raspberry, really pointy little sharp thorns. You gotta be careful. And of course this little compound leaf right here. Super magical in here. And of course it's wet. It had there was a bit of rain last night. I'm just taking a peek around for berries. I'm looking for wild grape in particular today. And I'm looking up here, you know, like if you didn't know what you're looking at, you'd think, oh, there's some wild grape. Let's take a closer look. So take a look at that. That is not wild grape at all. That is buckthorn. Got a black little berry there, kind of goes up along the stem. And if you look at the leaves, kind of round leaves, a little paler underside, the green there. And buckthorn, trust me, you do not want to eat those. Some species are invasive in Ontario and some are native here in Ontario, and they give you terrible gastrointestinal stuff. They're one of the names of one of the species of buckthorn, the European buckthorn, is Ramus cathartica. So basically cleans you right out. So you do not want to mistake, you know, when you're getting berries, you don't want to get buckthorn. That is really bad. Really make sure what you're picking. But look over here, we do have some wild grape. There's some beautiful wild grape. Let's take a look. So right here you can see, grab a few. Ooh. Take a look, they're purple. You squish them, your hands get a beautiful color. There is tartaric acid in here, so your hands can get a little bit prickly if you've got little cuts in here, but see there's about 3 or so seeds. These seeds are edible, and they're really, really small, so not really like the grapes you're used to seeing. To confirm our suspicions, let's take a look at the leaves here. So we've got these big leaves. They're a little spiky at the end. In the springtime, when they're, you know, less veiny and less, you know, coarseness to the veins in the leaves, you can actually use these, cook them, you know, wrapped in, you can wrap up some like rice in there and other goodies, and yeah, you can eat these. So this confirms that we have a wild grape with this leaf here and these little purple fruits. Another giveaway is that they have these little tendrils that grab onto other branches to hold this vine up. So isn't that cool? There is lots of it around me here. Here you can see it all put together. Some of these leaves are a little bit chewed up, but there you go. There's the leaves. And all these little tendrils that we see with the grapes, and these beautiful dark purple berries. They're almost blackish. So you don't want to harvest them when they're, you know, a little bit lighter colored. I'd like to harvest them when they're nice and rich and dark purple. Really sharp flavor, really strong. That little edible seed gives it a nice little crunch. Royce is sniffing around here, but we got to be super careful because grapes are toxic to dogs. I don't know if you guys knew that. So in grapes, what's toxic to dogs is the tartaric acid. And every grape, so like cream of tartar, basically, you guys are familiar with that. So tartaric acid, toxic to dogs, and I think they just found that out this year, that that's the reason why it's toxic. And every kind of grape has a different amount of it in there, so some grapes are more toxic than others. But I just wanted to let you know that quick tip. If you're out foraging for grapes with your dog, don't let them taste test. This trail is a gold mine for all different kinds of berries. Take a look at this. So this right here is Hawthorne. Now it is not ready yet to harvest. I usually get these in September. They turn sort of a bright red, kind of more like this. And you know, I made Hawthorne jelly one time on the channel. You can check that out. This is a really easy one to identify. Let's just take a look at the shrub itself. I'm kind of buried in all these other things here, but take a look. Take a look at that sharp thorn right there. That gives it away. So when you're harvesting for hawthorn, be careful. Don't poke your eye out. And that's what the leaf of the hawthorn looks like. That dark green, a little bit lighter underneath. And the hawthorns right there. So these aren't ready, but you know I'll be back in September to get those when they're nice and ripe. Ooh, oh, maybe, wow. Look at this. These ones are actually pretty close to being ripe, if not ripe. You know what? I think it's because it's right in the sun. Look at these. Oh man, these are in great shape too. Okay, maybe I will be back sooner. Well, this year, as you can see, there are just tons and tons of, you know, berries and fruit everywhere. And, you know, I don't know if it's like what it's like near you guys, but it seems like everywhere I go, the fruit is doing really well, and same with the nuts. So this is called a mast year, where, you know, all the trees manage to produce large amounts of fruit or nuts. This ends up supporting a lot of the smaller mammals like the mice and the squirrels and the chipmunks that thrive on these things, which means that we may see an increase in the larger, you know, predators around if the small mammal population is increasing. So you might see increase in the foxes and the coyotes, and you know, all the, you know, I don't know, fishers, things like that thrive on these little critters because there's lots of food for them. It's also going to be another good year for the, you know, the trees to make progeny, basically. So some of these aren't going to get eaten, fall to the ground, and turn into another little hawthorn, or another, you know, acorn turns into another oak. So this is pretty amazing, and you know, it's pretty incredible that, you know, I can go different regions in the area and I'm seeing the same thing. And why is that? And I think there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, we know that plants go hormones that are like basically signal other plants that the conditions are right. Let's produce more fruit and more nuts. Also, you know, there's a lot of fungal networks under the ground that connect these trees, and there's signaling likely through that as well. And I'm sure environmental conditions have a lot to do with it. Now we had a really, really dry summer. Like, I'm trying to get out here now before these thunderstorms. It's the first major rain in the last 3 weeks. In the spring we had some pretty good downpours, and so we were pretty warm here in June. So perhaps that had a lot to do with it. Pollinators were out. Perfect conditions for these trees to put energy into the fruits and the nuts. So looks like a mast year this year. That's awesome. So this seems a little bit early for me. I usually get these guys around September. Now we're pretty darn close, honestly. A couple weeks away from when I normally would harvest them, but I find it's a little bit early. But hey, I'm not complaining. And the birds aren't complaining either, I'm sure. Birds love this kind of fruit. Even in the winter, I find there's wild grape that sort of freezes and dries on the shrubs, and I mean, I've seen pileated woodpeckers picking away at them, you know, in the late winter, early spring. Robins, when they come in, the early migrants, if this fruit stays on over winter and doesn't get eaten because it's a huge year for the fruit, then they'll have some food for the spring before, you know, all the insects and that come out. Here we have the beautiful Asiatic apple. This is a non-indigenous species of apple, very popular in China for its sweet and sour flavor in cooking. I haven't personally cooked with these kinds of little small crab apples before, but I'd have to look up some interesting recipes, something new. More buckthorn. Let's avoid that. I almost missed this. Nanny Berry, take a look at that. So just looking at all the different purple berries in this pathway right now, and this is a really beautiful shrub. It's called the Nanny Berry. I've got one in my fruit garden at the house, and yeah, it looks like it's going to be ready to harvest a little bit early too. Look at that. These nice little purple berries here. The birds love these, so it's not too common that I end up getting a bunch of this. This is in the viburnum species. So they have a beautiful color too in the fall. If you plant these near your property, like nanny berries and any of the viburnum species really, like wild raisin, you'll end up with beautiful foliage. So avoid the burning bushes. Put in some native plants, native shrubs this fall. These will turn a beautiful like reddy orange, especially the more sunlight they're exposed to. And the berries are really good too. Well, you can see there's very few left on here. The birds just adore Nanny Berry. So if you plant this in your garden at home, you can expect a lot of wildlife to be around. And there's a young Nanny Berry there that the seeds haven't obviously dried up or shriveled, so they start off green. They're kind of right at near the end of the branch on this one. There you go, that's what they look like. So this one's in the shade, it's pretty young. So these ones will mature a little bit later on in the season. Here's another bluish purple berry you do not want to ingest. This is the Virginia creeper, not edible, so be really, really careful. You can see here the color of the stems and the leaves, definitely nothing you want to be eating. Ugh, now we're really going through it. Oh, I'm getting wet. Oh, look what I see. Look at those grapes. Be picking those on the way out. Oh, wow. Look at all in here. Nice. Do the limbo. Nope, I'm not crying. Just got a ton of water on my face. Oh my gosh. Mother load. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Look at this. What? This is amazing. Look at this. That, my friends, is high bush cranberry. Look at them all. Wow, look at them all. What did I tell you guys? A mast year. Everything is just producing. Wow, amazing. So these aren't a true cranberry, although they do call them high bush cranberry. So this is a shrub. It's not like the low bush that grow in the ground that you get, from ocean spray. These are different. They kind of taste horrible right now. I'm going to let them go. They're really high in pectin though. So if you were to harvest them when they're fully red before the first frost, you'll have a lot of, you won't need to add pectin if you're making high bush cranberry jelly. But you might want to wait till the first frost hits. Likely taste a little bit better, and when you're cooking them, they smell so bad. Usually people add a little bit of a citrus to them to make them smell a bit better during the cooking down process. But look at all that. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. And plenty at picking height as well, so I'll be back. And again, you can see these kind of leaves right here. I've got several of these shrubs at the cabin, although they're not this mature. I can't wait till they get this big and we'll have so many fruits to harvest. Yeah, this shrub is huge. Take a look at that. I don't know if it's like about 10, 15 feet tall and just full of bush cranberries. So the birds love this too. But I will be back a little bit later in the season to get these. Wow, great find. Woohoo! All right, well, I guess I better stop getting distracted by everything and just start picking some of these wild grape. I don't know what I'm going to make with these today. Maybe I'll make some tarts. Not really sure, but let's get to it. Careful not to drop any of these. Every year you got to make something different. One year I made wine. It was awesome. Poor Royce is looking miserable. He has burrs all over his face. Oh my gosh. It's going to be a busy afternoon getting those out. Well, at least we'll have something to do in this nasty weather. Many of you ask what books are really good for foraging and identifying plants. So I'm just going to put a few of them here that I use. They're just excellent and are highly recommended. So check them out. You can get them at any one of your favorite bookstores. Of course, I got a sample as I go along. Ooh, these are definitely tart. So I think there's quite a bit of tartaric acid in them. I can feel a little prickling in my mouth. One thing I was sure I was going to find in here is wild plum, and they are out right now, but unfortunately I just don't see any. So we'll have to keep looking for those ones. But literally, I've seen so many fruit on this trail. It's amazing. Now take a look at this. This is what I found in here, and this is nothing to do with fruit, but this is actually wild asparagus. So at the cabin, how I have, I find those little stalks of asparagus. This is asparagus. So I should probably come back here in the early spring, and I will get some really tasty asparagus to eat. I'm kind of getting a bit of a crazy idea that maybe I should leave some of these grapes on the vine and collect them later in the season after the frost and make an ice wine. What do you guys think? And I just want to show you how careful you have to be. You know, there's berries that you don't want to eat there, and then there's nanny berries. And if they're the same color, you don't want to just be kind of grabbing and thinking you've got the same plant. They're two different plants here. So be super careful when you're foraging. This quite often happens. There can be some toxic varieties right next to edible ones. You don't want to make that terrible mistake. I want to show you this. This is wild cucumber. Ooh, it's super prickly. Will you ever get these thrown at you when you were a kid? No fun. There's another interesting plant that you might be tempted to eat the berries from, but no, don't do that. That's dogwood. Leave that for the birds. But it's a nice native shrub to plant in your garden. Well, thanks for joining me on this marvelous trail to learn all about sort of the late summer, early fall fruit that you can find in your area. Remember, be really, really safe, and make sure to consult various books to learn and experts to learn what you're actually foraging for. You don't want to hurt yourself, especially when it comes to berries. Hope you guys have a great week as always. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down below in the comments. Have a great week. Take care.